Good morning, all of you. And this is time that we start with the French literature, especially the area of the naturalistic literature. Literature produced on naturalist strain. And the naturalist literature is noted for the contributions of Emile Zola, then Mauppasant, and there is also J.K. Huysmans. And Huysmans is referred to in the novel of Oscar Wilde. In Oscar Wilde's novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray, so there is a reference to J.K. Huysmans. Dorian was given a book by one of his nomadic friends, and it was actually the book that changed his attitude and made him a pleasure seeker. And the book referred to is written by J.K. Huysmans. Huysmans' book was entitled A Rebours, R-E-B-O-U-R-S, translated as Against Nature. And these people, Emile Zola, Mauppasant, and Huysmans, and there are other writers like Charles Baudelaire, Stephen Mallarmé, French writers, Paul Verlaine, and Paul Valéry, and these people are considered as the French decadent school. In French literature also we come to find a school entitled the decadent school, and in British literature we come to find the decadent school represented by A.C. Swinburne, Oscar Wilde and the others. And in French literature also we come to find the decadent school, started by the naturalist writers. Actually, slightly different from realism is naturalism. And when we come to find Emile Zola, Zola was born in 1840 and he died in 1902. Known French novelist and critic. And he is noted for his theories of naturalism. And the naturalist theories can be found in his collection of 20 novels entitled Les Rougon-Macquart. Les Rougon-Macquart is a collection of 20 novels, and his popular novels are included in this collection. So in Balzac also we come to find a collection of novels written by him, stories written by him, and the collection was called La Comédie Humaine, or the Human Comedy. And there are 90 works included in the collection of Balzac. La Comédie Humaine, the Human Comedy. And as far as Emile Zola is concerned, he has got a collection of 20 novels, and they are called Les Rougon-Macquart, a series of 20 novels. And actually it describes the lineage of a particular family during the Second French Empire. And it was between 1852 to 1870. And one of the famous novels included in the collection is Nana. And then other popular novel included in the collection is Germinal. And we make a little discussion on both these novels. And Emile Zola is also known for his involvement in the Dreyfus affair, and it was a controversial issue during the time of Emile Zola. So there was an accusation of a person named Alfred Dreyfus. He was an army officer and he was accused as a German spy. And the government wanted to put him in the prison. And Emile Zola and the others stood against the move. They intervened in the issue And Emile Zola even produced an essay in favor of Alfred Dreyfus. And the popular essay written by him was called J. Accuse. And for writing this letter, this open letter in a newspaper, Emile Zola was expelled from France. And he took asylum in England, reached England and stayed in England for a few years. And while remaining in England, he continued to write his novels. And he was one of the important members of the Naturalist movement. And he also published several pamphlets explaining his theories of art. And there are very popular treatises written by him like Lee Roman Experimental, etc. And when we examine the novel written by Emile Zola, entitled Nana, we come to find that this is the 9th installment in the Les Rugen-Marquardt series. And I told you in the beginning that he had produced 20 novels under the title Les Rugen-Marquardt. And Nana is the 9th novel included in the Les Rugen-Marquardt series. And it tells the story of a young lady named Nana Koppiu. And she started her career as a street walker and turned to become a high-class prostitute. Nana Koppiu was actually the daughter of a poor man, and she started as a street dancer. And she was noted by a theater artist, and she was put in a play, and she became very popular, that she was free in her performance. Even she came on the stage fully naked. And there were a lot of fans to Nana, and they even destroyed their life for Nana. For example, there was a man named Philippe Hugen, and he stole money from the army, in fact, to give the money to Nana. And there was another man named Steiner, and he was a banker, and he gave lot of money to Nana, and he became bankrupt. And there was another man named Hugen, and he killed himself with a scissors. So only for the sake of Nana. Many men became destroyed by the beauty of Nana. She destroyed every man who pursued her. And finally she got married with a Russian prince, and she had also a child in the relationship. But at the end she was affected by smallpox and had a horrible death. And this is actually the story of Nana Koppiu. And it is written in the naturalistic strain. And there is also another novel included in the Les Rugen-Marquardt series. Nana is the 9th installment, and Nana was produced in 1880. And Nana is a novel prescribed in most of the Indian universities. And Germinal was produced in 1885, and it was the 13th installment of the collection. Nana was the 8th installment of the collection, whereas Nana the 9th installment of the collection, whereas Germinals was the 13th installment in the collection of the 20 novels entitled Les Rugen-Marquardt series. And it is considered as Emile Zola's masterpiece. And Germinals actually depicts the life in a mining community by highlighting relations between the bourgeois and the working class. And Germinals is actually a Latin word that means seed. And Germinals actually invokes the hope for a better future that exists among the miners. And the protagonist of the novel is a young miner called Etile Lantier. Etine Lantier. Lantier. And he is a young coal worker. He organizes the coal workers and becomes the leader of the coal workers and is found fighting against the bourgeois. And the naturalistic development of the story presented in the novel Germinals. Actually, Emile Zola was the one important literary master who started the naturalistic school in French literature. And the next important writer of the naturalistic school was Guy de Mauppasant. And Mauppasant is a familiar name for all of us. Mauppasant has been a household name for all of us. Very popular story writer. And he is also a writer of novels and a master of short stories. And his first published story was Bowley de Suif. The name of the protagonist, Bowley de Suif. And it is so translated as Butterball, and it was in the year 1880. Mauppasant produced his story, Bowley de Suif, and it is considered as his masterpiece. And the story actually set in the Franco-Prussian War. And during the war, there are a few travelers representing the various classes of the society are found traveling in a stagecoach. And there is a young lady named Bowley de Suif. And she is found sharing her food with the travelers. She is found taking food items in a basket and sharing the food item to the people sitting in the stage carriage. And they become very happy sharing food with the lady. Everyone appreciates Bowley de Suif. But on the way, the stagecoach was stopped by the gods. And they wanted to examine the people inside. And the people became stranded in the area for almost 2 days. Because the officer in the entry post actually wanted to have sexual relation with Bowley de Suif. And he maintained that if Bowley de Suif would submit to his will, he would permit them to go through the entry points. And after all, when she was actually not willing to submit herself to the military officer. And she told the other members in the stage carriage that the military officer was demanding her to sleep with him. And the people in the stage carriage all pressed her to do the thing. They told her that there would be nothing so serious about the sharing of the bed with the officer. And if it could save them to go through the exit point, so it would be useful for all of them. And they all wanted her to go and sleep with the military officer so that they could all pass through the entry points. And the lady, Bowley de Suif, went and slept with the officer, and the officer opened the gate and permitted the people to go. And when the stage carriage started passing through the entry gate, Bowley de Suif again came to the people with the basket of food items to share with the people, but the people refused to eat from the basket. The co-passengers treated her with disdain, and they do not even share food with her like she did in the beginning. And this is actually a story examining the prejudices and moral conservatism. And Mauppasant was actually mended by Flaubert, and he was actually mended by the realistic writer flourish. And very popular story of Mauppasant is the necklace. And it is a story prescribed in most of the universities all over India. And in the necklace, we come to find a young lady living with her husband, and she has been living under limited circumstances. And her husband was invited by the upper class society to attend a dinner. And he is asked to take his wife also with him. And he wanted his wife also to join with him to attend the dinner. And she said that she didn't have best clothes, in fact, to join the upper class dinner. And the young clerk spent all his money for buying new dress for her. And she became happy wearing the new dress. But then there comes the question that she doesn't have golden ornaments. And the clerk doesn't have money to buy golden ornaments. And she borrowed a necklace from one of her neighbors named Jenny Forrester. And the lady is named Mathilde. Mathilde borrowed a necklace, a precious necklace from a neighboring lady, Jenny. And both the clerk and his wife went and attended the dinner, and everyone appreciated the lady for her dance and for her behavior, and they all praised her for her attitude in the party, and happily they returned home. And on reaching home, so she found that the necklace was missing, and they became very confused. And it was a costly necklace. And after all, for buying the necklace, they would have to spend minimum 50,000 rubles. And they went in search of the necklace. And after all, they thought of buying another necklace and to the same duplicate necklace and to give the necklace back to Jenny. And by paying about 40,000 rubles. So, spending all the money and selling the inheritance and borrowing money also from the money lenders, offering high interest rates, they bought a necklace which looked almost the same as she borrowed from Jenny, and returned the necklace to Jenny. The husband and wife then continued to work for 10 years to make up the loss. In fact, they became very tired after the 10 years, and Mathilda met Jenny. And Jenny could not understand Mathilda because Mathilda has become so lean, and her beauty was all lost. And after all, Jenny asked her the reason why she became very tired. And now Mathilda told her that she had bought a necklace because the one necklace she borrowed from Jenny was lost. And she had to pay about 40,000 rubles for buying the necklace. Then Jenny told her that actually the necklace was not an original piece of jewel. So it was not original, it was duplicate. It costed only 400 francs. And so making up the necklace, they suffered all the 10 years. And the story is a very popular story prescribed in most of the universities. Mauppasant is a very popular story writer, and he was also a writer of the school called the Naturalistic school. And it was at the same time there came the symbolist movement in France. And we come to find the beginning of the decadent school also. And the major writers are Charles Baudelaire, Stephen Mallarmé, Paul Verlaine, and J.K. Huisman, I told you that there is reference in Oscar Wilde's story, The Picture of Dorian Gray. And there was Arthur Rimbaud and Paul Valéry. And this is time that we come to find the school of the symbolists. And they believed that art should represent absolute truth. And that could be only described indirectly. And it was the concept of the symbolists. And out of the symbolists, we come to find that there are a few very popular symbolists like Charles Baudelaire. Charles Baudelaire was a great influence on T.S. Eliot also. Baudelaire was a great French poet, critic and essayist. And he has got his very famous lyric poem called Les Fleurs du Mal. And this is the one great poem written by Baudelaire, Charles Baudelaire. Les Fleurs du Mal. And it is called the flowers of evil. Les Fleurs du Mal. Les Fleurs du Mal. The flowers of evil. And the poem, the lyric poem, outraged the public with its subject matter, eroticism. There is eroticism and sexual deviance in the poem written by Baudelaire. Baudelaire was a poet of the suggestive school of poetry, the symbolist school of poetry, and he was also a member of the decadent school. And he also touched on lesbian love and profane love. And there were the questions of metamorphosis, melancholy, corruption of the city, loss in sins, and the oppressiveness of living in such situation. And there are the other important writers of the symbolist school. We come to find that there is Jules Verne. Jules Verne. Verne has been a writer prescribed in most of the universities. Even for the junior classes also there are a few novels of Jules Verne prescribed. For example, his story Around the World in 18 Days. Around the World in 80 Days is prescribed in most of the universities for the junior classes. And Jules Verne, he was a French novelist, poet and playwright. And he is known for his adventure novels and science fiction novels, and he has been a master of children's studies. And he is also called the father of science fiction.